Welcome back to EtherLink AI Insights. I'm Alex, and today we're diving into something that's keeping a lot of enterprise leaders up at night. EU AI Act compliance and governance maturity, especially for organizations in Den Haag. Sam, this is a big topic, and we're looking at a hard deadline, August 2nd, 2026. Why should our listeners care about this right now?
Great question, Alex. Most people think compliance is something you tackle in the last quarter before a deadline hits. But the EU AI Act is fundamentally different. It's not just a checkbox exercise. We're talking about the world's first comprehensive AI regulation that creates real financial and legal exposure. Non-compliance penalties can hit $30 million or 6% of global turnover. That's not a fine. That's business threatening.
Those are serious numbers. And Den Hogg specifically, that's the Dutch tech hub, right? There's a lot of AI innovation happening there. So we're talking about companies that are building cutting-edge AI systems needing to suddenly operate in Europe's most regulated AI environment. How prepared are they actually?
Honestly, not very. The data tells the story. 57% of European enterprises are unprepared for AI Act compliance, and the problem gets worse in smaller organizations. What we're seeing is a huge governance gap. Companies have built AI systems in experimental mode, proof-of-concept environments, with minimal documentation or oversight. Now they're realizing those systems need to be production-ready and fully compliant in about a year and a half.
So it sounds like there's a difference between having AI and having compliant, governed AI. Let's talk about what that actually means. You mentioned a maturity model earlier. Can you break down what governance maturity looks like at different levels?
Absolutely. Think of it as a 5-level progression. Level 1 is where most Den Haag Enterprises sit right now. Ad hoc AI projects, minimal documentation, no centralized oversight. You've got teams experimenting with AI tools, but there's no governance framework. Level 2 adds basic policies and departmental governance, but it's inconsistent across the organization. That's where maybe 30–40% of enterprises are.
And the higher levels?
Level 3, defined, is where you start seeing standardized frameworks, documented compliance procedures, and cross-functional AI councils. This is the minimum viable maturity to avoid serious regulatory exposure by August 2026. Levels 4 and 5 are where you've got quantified governance metrics, automated risk assessment, predictive compliance monitoring, and AI governance embedded as an organizational culture. Almost no one's there yet. It's there.
So the real race is getting to level 3 in the next 18 months or so. That's a significant shift for organizations that are currently at level 1 or 2. What does that acceleration actually require?
This is where the concept of an AI lead architect becomes critical. Most organizations don't have a dedicated role bridging technical AI implementation and governance compliance. An AI lead architect serves multiple functions simultaneously. They're a strategist designing governance frameworks, an auditor identifying compliance gaps in existing systems, a designer of data governance and transparency protocols, and an educator helping executives understand AI risk.
That sounds like a lot for one person. Can organizations actually find someone with all those skills?
That's the real challenge, which is why we're seeing fractional AI-led architect engagements become the fastest-growing approach. Organizations can't always hire full-time, but they need that strategic oversight and governance expertise. A fractional model gives you access to deep expertise without the overhead. It's particularly useful for enterprises in Den Haag that need quick governance maturity gains before the deadline.
Interesting. So let's talk about one of the specific compliance challenges: the transparency requirements for AI systems, especially generative AI and chatbots. That's coming up a lot in conversations. What's the real issue there?
The EU AI Act is incredibly specific about transparency. When users interact with AI systems, chatbots, marketing automation tools, customer service agents, organizations have to clearly disclose that they're interacting with AI. They have to explain how the AI generates content, and they need mechanisms for content creators to opt out of training data use. These aren't vague requirements.
But are companies actually doing this?
No. A Gartner survey found that 73% of enterprises deploying chatbots and marketing automation tools lack adequate transparency documentation. This is a direct violation of the Act's Article 13 provisions. And here's the thing, it's not because the requirements are unclear. It's because organizations deployed these systems without thinking about compliance infrastructure alongside the technology itself.
So transparency becomes as important as the AI capability itself. That's a fundamental mindset shift.
Exactly. You can't bolt transparency on afterward. You need to design it into your systems from day one. For Den Hogg companies using agentic AI for customer engagement, this is non-negotiable. You're building transparency documentation, disclosure mechanisms, data opt-out processes, all while the AI system is running in production.
Let's talk practical next steps. If I'm a CTO or a governance leader in Den Hogg right now, what should I actually be doing in the next few months?
3 things. First, audit your current AI systems against the EU AI Act. Identify what's high risk, what needs transparency documentation, what's missing from a governance perspective. Second, map your current maturity level honestly. Don't assume you're at level 3 if you're not. Third, bring in governance expertise. Either build it internally or engage fractional expertise to design your compliance roadmap.
And timing-wise, if the deadline is August 2026, when should this happen?
Now, organizations that wait until mid-2025 to start this work are taking enormous risk. You need 12 to 18 months minimum to mature your governance frameworks, document your systems, retrain teams, and fix compliance gaps. Every month you delay compresses the timeline and increases costs.
So this is really about competitive advantage, isn't it? Organizations that move first on governance maturity aren't just avoiding penalties. They're positioning themselves as industry leaders.
Absolutely. The companies that nail governance maturity will have cleaner data practices, more transparent AI systems, better risk management, and executive teams that actually understand their AI portfolios. That's not regulatory overhead, that's operational excellence. Den Hogg's tech ecosystem has the talent and innovation capacity to lead here, but only if they move now.
This has been really insightful, Sam. For listeners who want to dive deeper into governance frameworks, AI lead architecture roles, and specific compliance strategies, the full article is available on etherlink.ai. We've got a lot more detail there on implementation approaches and how organizations can actually build the maturity they need. Thanks for breaking this down.
Thanks, Alex. And to anyone working in AI governance right now, this is genuinely important work. The organizations that get this right will build better AI systems and stronger competitive positions. That's the real opportunity here.
That's a great note to end on. Thanks everyone for listening to EtherLink AI Insights. We'll be back next week with more on AI governance and enterprise transformation. See you then.